most important component that we are missing a lot is identification of stakeholders. Today's discussion, I would like to limit to one aspect of this, so many things that I was talking about, the role of a stakeholder in a decision making. So in earlier topics, several individuals were saying things like interdisciplinary, people from different fields have to come and make decisions. It's not an engineer's decision anymore. There could be people from statistics or political science or even music industry. They all may have to come and pitch in their value proposition before a decision should be made. If you go back to analyzing this situation, the question to be raised here is, as an engineer or as a professional, was it possible to foresee this and avoid this before investing so much time, money, commitment, 5-year plans or 10-year plans? And once you are committed to do things like this, it's not easy to revoke or it's not easy to go back. So but the question is, was it possible to avoid this? Was it easy to see what was going to come based on something that was going to be implemented for the first time? If we look at various items in this matrix, the first column means whether such a role was involved. We know that that stakeholder has a role to play, but whether that department was involved in the decision-making process, that entity was involved in the decision-making process, then was that entity professionally responsible? Yes or no? Was that entity socially responsible? Yes or no? Was that entity conducting their practices legally? Yes or no? And was it done ethically? So if these questions can be answered, then chances are all the no in this matrix can lead us to identify situations which can help us to foresee a failure. So even before implementing this project, we might be able to say, I see a bunch of no's here, so let's bring this back to the planning process and let's identify the stakeholder who is associated with the no here and find out what it takes to change that to a yes. So that type of analysis is what is probably required here before we can say whether such a project will be successful or not, whether it will be beneficial to the society or not, whether it will bring more value or not, whether the currency that is going to be printed will result in the currency getting stronger or not, whether people will be employed or people will wind up losing their job. A lot of these questions can be answered if this matrix is given its due diligence. I would like to take another example. During the late 90s, decided to move from roundabout to traffic signals in the heart of Trivandrum city. But do we really know whether that decision was a good decision or not? It's still an unknown factor. We do not know whether that decision was a great decision for the society or not. How do we find out whether that decision was good or not? Only through actual data. How many stops, how many delays, what's the average speed? All those things are parameters that determine the quality of a traffic system in a city. So all those things could be measured before, and an analysis can be done to see what is the expected number at the end of this implementation. Meaning, number of stops was 10,000 today, and I am expecting it to go down to 5,000 tomorrow after I implement traffic lights. But after the implementation, it didn't go to 5,000, but if it went to 20,000, that means all the money that I spent and all the work that I did and everything has caused more damage to the society or caused more pain to the society. I did not add value to the society, but I only created more difficulty. It is not really obvious. It looks nice. It looks beautiful. For a common person, it may look like it is a betterment, but it is the accountability of the engineer and the professionals who get involved in such projects to ensure and to publish these numbers saying that, hey, it was 10,000 before, and we expected it to be 5,000 after we spent 10 million or 10 crore rupees, but it came down to really 2,500. So we did much better than what we expected. So such kind of discussions, maybe in a room like this, where the decision makers are sitting on the stage and the representatives of the public are sitting there, and when they ask the questions like, okay, this much money was spent, tell us how it made our lives better. So the engineers should be able to show things like, look at my numbers. It went from 10,000 to 2,500, not 10,000 to 20,000. So that kind of observations, that kind of analysis will not only help us to evaluate the success of a project, but also help us to understand how to deal with similar problems for other cities as well. Like if we publish a paper saying, this is the condition of Trivandrum city before, and this is what we did, and this is what we got by spending X amount of dollars, then there are other cities in India, other cities in other countries as well that might be able to take this data and say, well, I don't need to do any analysis. I have enough knowledge now to quickly go into implementation. Like the person from ISRO, he was saying that big data analysis is a big thing, like simulation, all those things will help us to find out the consequences of traveling through a path before actually traveling. Like if we traveled already, we have burned money, time, and created all kind of confusion to the community, and then we say, oops, I made a mistake. You don't look like an engineer, or you don't look like a professional anymore. You look like somebody who claimed to be a professional but did more damage to the society than what is expected from a professional. So what is being proposed is a preliminary assessment. So before starting solving the problem of a project, let's say we are now working on several projects in Trivandrum city. We are looking at environmental issues, flooding issues, drinking water, all these types. Before we start another project, which we may have done many times before, let's not quickly start implementing another project, doing the same thing again. Let's try to look at why it failed, and maybe we will see that it failed because of a structural problem, but it could be more than that. Such problems can be fixed very easily. Structural failures, all those things can be fixed easily, but socioeconomic failures and failures of this nature, how it causes inconvenience to the society at large, those kind of things are not very easily measured and not very tangible, but that's where the big responsibility of an engineer lies. It's not just the fact that the bridge failed. Bridge can be constructed again quickly, but was that bridge really necessary there? We should look at the traffic and see, well, there is not enough number of people traveling on that road, so was it really doing anything that it is expected to do? So these kind of questions are really socio-economic questions to be addressed. There's another big thing that is going to happen soon, which is widening the road between Trivandrum and Nagarkovil. Like the snake-like road is going to be widened compared to having a bypass road, which will have links to each region. So the purpose of this old road was for the people in the neighborhood to go to the market and buy their things, and that was really the purpose of the old snake-like road. Did it continue to be that while commuters, people who are really going all the way to Nagarkovil, they shouldn't be using that road at all, because it is surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of shops and service providers. So now if we go and say, let's uproot all these service providers, we are saying this road was originally built for going to Nagarkovil, but that was not the case. This road just happened over a period of time because these small towns were connected. And it was not the path to go to Nagarkovil. So these type of analysis should be taken into serious consideration before going into implementation, because right now we don't know how many years it will take if we start this path of widening a road which was built for a different purpose. And such decisions will come out easily only if we go through this analysis where stakeholders should be identified, their objectives, their primary responsibilities should be well marked, and it has to be brought out into picture whether such functions are taken into serious consideration. So as a conclusion, I would like to talk one more point which really enforces the job or the role of an engineer or a profession. I would like to say that with the help of an example. Let's say I'm a minister. I'm receiving a lot of funds from the central government saying Kerala state or Trivandrum city can have a bigger swimming pool. So if I consult with various type of departments, some of them will say, yes, let's create a new pool. Some departments will say, no, let's make the existing pool larger. So me as a minister, as a decision maker, what will I do? How will I decide? I'm getting these mixed messages from different engineers. One engineering department says, let's do it. Another engineering department says, let's just demolish and make it bigger. So these two are really valid, important decisions, or important, it could be good decisions, but we don't know. Especially the minister will be confused. The decision maker will really be confused. So if the engineers are only saying, let's do it or let's not do it, the decision maker will hear all kind of voices, and finally he will have to pick and choose between one or the other, and then the people will eventually say, oh, the minister didn't do the right thing. But it's really the engineer that should be blamed in this case, because the engineer's job is not to say do it or not do it. The engineer's job is to say, I have these 3 different paths or 4 different paths. One path is to create another pool because the city has become bigger and there is a larger community and there is another region of the city where they have to commute a long distance to access this pool, and the existing pool will not be disturbed. There won't be a gap in service. There won't be a loss of service. So let's create a new one in another region where there is more people, because the city has grown a lot and it cost only 20 crore rupees. While the people who are trying to say, no, let's demolish this, make it larger, they should also come up with their numbers. They should say, I have this path where I want to demolish this pool and I want to make it bigger, and it will cost 30 crore rupees and it will take twice as much. Maybe this will take 3 years, the other job will take only 1 year. So maybe, and then another group of people may say, especially in places like India, we hear a lot, let's not do anything. So all these are options, and they may also have their own reasons. Why should we not do anything? Because this is only it's catering to certain type of people for certain community. It's not addressing the need of everybody. So there could be reasons. So all those are not bad voices. They are real voices. They are voices of the people, and it has to be given value. So let's put everything on the balance. So we have a voice that says, let's go this path. Let's make it larger. Another voice that says, let's go this path. Let's create another one. And another one says, let's not do anything. So the engineer's job is to analyze the benefits and the expenses and the duration, the inconveniences. All those items can be taken into consideration, and those numbers, those metrics has to be given to the decision maker. So the responsibility of the engineer is not to make the decision, but to show the consequences of decisions, and also to show multiple paths to reach a destination, and the consequences, the pros and cons of each path. That is the job of the professionals. So we have elected individuals, put them in a place much higher than the professionals, saying, decide for us. So that individual's role will be to hear everybody's voice and evaluate everything and make a decision that will benefit to the most people in the best way, and maybe less people will be inconvenienced by that. And such judgments should be really written in black and white and can be published by the involvement of professionals from various departments, from various walks of life, coming together and getting involved in this decision-making process. Who is in some profession will be faced with decisions that will result in society being affected in one way or other. And it is really important to ensure that we have explored all possibilities, every option, and our decisions are doing the best for most people, good for most people, and least damage for less people.